Sup
Let's
guys?
start.
Sup guys? Welcome to SCREENALYSIS. Uh,
Hey everyone,
this is Screen
and this is Alice's.
on the on the other side of the microphone. Yeah, and
Yeah,
we're covering today the second series, the second episode of the Queen's Gambit series. It's called Exchanges.
exchanges in the bad Harmon's life.
Yep. So, uh, can we recap the first episode? Do you remember how it ended? Actually,
Yeah, so as I remember, we stopped on the moment, and the episode stopped on the moment when Beth stole a giant ass jar of pills, took all of them in, and dropped out.
yeah,
And that's basically when she fell off and yeah, passed out, as I said.
and that's how the second episode starts. Beth is
Yeah,
looking at the
yeah,
jar of tranquilizers, and
Yeah, well, basically, we're seeing the scene in the orphanage again, where she's having a talk with her friend, Jolene. And as we get from the beginning, the Beth is punished now because because of that her little trick with the
yeah,
jar. And
her little
yeah,
steal.
what do you think? What do you think about this?
Uh, I I guess at this moment she realized that not getting out of orphanage might lead to her chess career failure. So
Yeah,
it's like the beginning of her career is here, and already on the first scene of the second episode, she already knows what she's gonna do for the rest of her life. I suppose because
yeah,
if you follow the whole episode, you will see that all her steps are motivated by her chess career, and I do really appreciate this character of her, that she got her goal in her life from the beginning, like from her childhood. It's like a pretty rare thing you won't meet every day. Some people don't get their motivation for the rest of our, like, their goal of their lives. They don't have them after the school, after the university. Like, people go to the random jobs and they don't have the goal like this girl has. So she's pretty lucky here.
yeah. She's lucky from one side, from one point of view, and from the other, she's still in the orphanage where she doesn't have a lot of opportunities to realize herself. And this story might have ended tragically if she wasn't adopted after that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, that's the moment when she tells Mr. Shable that if she won't get out from the orphanage, she won't be able to play chess.
yeah,
And that's only because of her punishment. So she now connects her success to the tranquilizers.
yeah,
And that's when we also divided this episode on sub episodes, so that's where the opening sub episode finishes, and we follow next to the second sub episode when she gets finally adopted.
yeah. That's like the early transition in her life. Like she was looking at those kids that were actually adopted. She and her friend Jolene, they were dreaming when will this moment will come. And for her, luckily, this moment had come pretty soon, as a quiet American couple came to the orphanage to to choose a child, and she was like, they really like they really like her from the first sight, and yeah.
Yeah, she was pretty lucky, and that's what mm, the narration of the episode pays attention to her color. That Jolene, her friend, expressed how rare it is for black children to get adopted. At
Oh
that
yeah,
moment,
yeah, that's definitely the Netflix tries to show the problem of the society that had placed like 50 years ago there, that white kids were adopted white more often by the parents,
yeah,
by
and that's pretty true. That's a slight reminder of the situation, and we
I
can,
think we'll
yeah,
see more of these society problems later on in this episode as well.
yeah, of course, and we can judge by the first episode that it's gonna cover a lot of uh, social problems because the main hero is a girl who plays chess, and the series concentrate on that problem quite a lot, and
Yeah,
we'll see this coming up, like in every episode. Uh, I believe it's still good to recognize our history, that this step we moved forward in some point of view.
yeah. I think also this is the moment when we see her grow up. I mean, like this is the scene when we see her already as a teenager, if I'm not mistaken. Before that, she was just a kid, and that's like happened after a few years, as we see that they also changed the actress here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So in that moment, Anya
that's where the
comes.
Anya Taylor-Joy comes
Yeah.
in, right?
Okay. Yeah. So as I understand this, she, from that moment when she was, as I remember, maybe you can remind me, from the moment when she got punished and until the moment she got adopted, there were a couple of years, and Anya didn't have a chance to play chess. Did she practice or not?
Hmm.
Because
No, I think they really didn't specify on that moment. Yeah, they showed the transition from her from the childhood to the teenagerhood,
yeah,
and actually we didn't see what happened in this period. She
um,
might have not been playing chess at all, or she might have been playing with Mr. Shadewell.
there
I quite
were
doubt.
in another sub episode you will see that she wasn't practicing chess, only playing chess in her head.
That might explain what she was doing like there a year or two.
Yeah.
I know. I think when she was kid, she was like 9, and later she's like 15. I think so. Maybe there passed much more years, or it's just that the difference between the two actresses.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe by the book there should have passed less time. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, we will check that info later. It's not so important. It's important to notice here that she was not practicing because she was probably afraid that she won't be given any results without tranquilizers. But nevertheless, she was playing in her head without tranquilizers.
Right.
Maybe she didn't understand at the moment that she's not playing because of tranquilizers, but she's a genius. Maybe she didn't recognize that characteristic of her own yet, and
Yeah.
we basically we follow the formation of the character, and she cannot simply recognize herself as a genius, and that won't be so interesting to follow, because there's always some initial problems of the character. Well,
It's interesting to discuss here. I think that if she was not adopted later on, she might have not had chance to play the chess at all in her life, or at least it would be delayed until her like 18 years old when she could finally leave the orphanage.
yeah,
So she could, her genius, she could have completely lost it until that time. Who
yeah,
knows?
yeah, and
Or
that's what
yeah,
she even discussed with her guru, Mr. Shable.
yeah, and if she was a black girl, maybe that's what could really happen at all, or after
Oh
that at
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah.
So
Interesting. Yeah.
that's also another contrast that Netflix tries to show here. Who knows? Maybe her friend Jolene also had a talent that she could, open in her childhood. I mean, to show off in her childhood, but it was later lost by her when she was grown up. So yeah, so that's brings us to discussion like how negatively the orphanage can affect the child's development, I think,
Well, let's
and
just
how
say that
important it is for a child to have parents. Yeah,
it's even nowadays. I suppose it's a huge problem of the orphanage, and
right,
most of the kids they don't really get adopted, and they still don't get a chance to come in the world and show their talents. Well,
right,
it's a pretty pretty sad topic to discuss, but maybe we will get back to the orphanage in the next episodes. Let's just continue here
I agree.
with
Let's go further on.
let's move forward. Yeah, to the third sub episode when she meets her mother.
Right. So she is basically brought to her new home by her mother and father as well. But we get to know that her father is a huge dick from the first moments, as he is not quite talkative at all. He's not paying any attention to her at all.
Mm-hmm.
And basically we see that the mother is the one that's paying more attention to her, introducing her, showing her everything in the house. After that, we get to know that there's actually a break in this family. That everything is not so good as it might have seen when they came first to the orphanage. So, and like I think from the next day or in a week, the dad already lives somewhere in the business trip, and they are left together alone with the mother.
Yeah, well, let's focus a little bit on this. Let's not rush the narrative because I believe that happens later. And the from let's discuss this initial meeting. And do you remember what job did the dad have? He was some sort of businessman. Was he
I
some
think
rich
he was
businessman?
No, I don't think he was a rich businessman. He was like usual, I don't know how it's called, broker, not broker.
Yeah,
The dude that's going through the neighborhood selling some shit.
yeah,
I don't know
salesman. Yeah,
how to.
salesman.
Okay, salesman, right? Something like that. Maybe he was working on a phone or something like that. So like a pretty obedient American family from 50s that you see in the movies.
It's 8 to 5, or how do you call it? 9 to 5
Yeah,
job.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Nothing changed at all from that times.
you start questioning this move right from the meeting because you clearly see a tragedy in this marriage, and probably the best thing to do when you have a tragedy in the marriage is to deal with the tragedy. And we at the moment we don't know what was the tragedy. We'll see it later, but even when you don't know, you might guess that adopting a child was their chance, or was their they tried to solve the tragedy
The way
by
for them
yeah, the way.
to solve their problems. Yeah.
What do you say about this move? Like when I watched the episode, I was right from this moment I was questioning their move. Like they don't seem to be too dumb or too inconvenient. So they got the kid. They actually got through some tests, I suppose. So they're medium family. They're not some sort of
Yeah.
alcoholics. Why did they even thought about doing this? Like this is not the best option to solve the tragedy in your family. Like never.
Well, I think that you're like from the first moments you see that something's not all right in this family. Like there's some kind of tension, and maybe like that's we can presume that taking a kid to their home, they wanted to to solve this problem that was happening in their family. But I think the judging by the father's emotions and by his reaction, it was not his idea to adopt the child.
Mhm.
I think it was more like the hopeless dreams of his wife. Like she was seeing that something is going wrong, and maybe they need this, I don't know, the factor that would, uh,
So
how
that
to say
was
that.
like one bad decision, but from the mother. Like,
I,
well,
I can't say really that it was bad decision. I think the bad decision for her was when she married. Maybe that was a bad
okay.
decision, right? But taking the child, I mean, she was pretty lonely already in this house where the husband didn't love her already, and she needed some kind of attention. And maybe the child was like the way for her really to at least to have some conversation, some like society, I don't know, around her, because that's something that her husband was not giving her already. And I don't know. I think we can explain that it was a move by her mother. And actually, as we further see how their relationship will develop, that it's for sure was 100% decision of her mother,
Okay.
as the dad just clearly didn't give a shit about this family, nor for the girl, nor for the mother.
Well, I got some opinion like about the reason why the family split up. I mean, maybe he wasn't a dickhead from the start. I cannot say clear. I mean, for sure, I cannot say for sure, and I will explain why I don't think that. We will understand the reason what was a big tragedy in the family in the next sub episodes. Should we continue when with the first day at high school?
Okay, let's move on. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't mean that he was a dick from the beginning. I mean, there's always like two people are having problem. If there's something goes wrong in the family, I mean, it's the problem of both people.
Yeah, of
So
course.
maybe the dude wasn't the dickhead. Maybe it's just that he completely lost the interest for the family somewhere in the process. I mean, who are we to judge him? Like, maybe he had really some more important stuff to do with his friend in Siberia or some shit. I don't know.
So you suppose this guy is from Siberia too? Yeah. You're connecting
that
to our last discussions. Yeah, I would
that would be a
actually.
nice, yeah, thought to think that both of her fathers were dudes from Siberia or something like that.
Well, yeah, at least they were grumpy. That's why we can assume that they're from Siberia and from Russia, something like that.
Yeah,
You saw.
yeah, might. Yeah. So about the first day in school.
Yeah, can you remind me, please, what happened there?
So as I remember, it's like the first actual socialization process for her. as a first social day in the school. So that's the first time she meets other kids, and she like really stands out from the crowd, judging by her clothes or conversation. You can really see that she's like, I don't know, the kids would call her Jeek or some kind of like she was not really used to socialize there, and like we see the scene in the math class where teacher asks a complex question and she already knows the question because she's literally quite quite educated. No,
Yeah, she's quite intelligent
yeah,
right
she's
now.
quite intelligent. She probably read more books than these kids ever opened. So and she easily resolves the problem, getting even more hated by the kids. So at lunch, she's on her own, she's alone, and she finds a company in another girls who is also like not quite so popular in the school. And that's where they're having the discussion, like when she gets to know that there are no chess club in the school, and she cannot continue her hobby there. Like that leads to another struggle.
And
And
does she get a friend at the end of this sub episode? So she actually gets the same geek friend like she is.
no, I don't think that she got the friend. It's like the only scene we see her talking with this girl.
Okay,
So yeah, so she was a lonely wolf throughout the whole series, I'd say.
that's classic. Yeah.
So yeah, her only goal was to play chess, and I think she was not the extrovert kind of person.
That's good for her because she could get in big trouble if she was desiring to communicate with these girls because she clearly doesn't have any social
Skills.
skills. Yeah, the only skill she got was her intelligence, and intelligence doesn't help in socializing at all. And being the smartest kid in the class, like the being the new kid plus being the kid adopted, and clearly everyone already knows that she's adopted, and being the smartest new kid adopted in school. It's like the worst combination from it's like the main target for getting bullied.
Yeah,
It's
and also playing chess.
Yeah, also playing chess, being a girl and playing chess. Like we understand where Netflix goes here. She's like getting all sort of problems possible. Like
Yeah,
no social status, no parents, no social skills. Only thing that she got is intelligence. The only thing that
yeah,
saves her actually. Uh,
yeah. Well, that shows how persistent she really is, despite all that negative factors. She actually managed to.
yeah, probably the thing that this adoption thing, she got mature, more mature than these girls in her school. Like kids in school, they usually don't have any sort of goal, any sort of responsibility for themselves. That's
Right.
the main thing that stands off in Beth, because she got responsibility for herself from the starters, while the other kids, they got parents responsible for them. They don't have to think about
Yeah.
any troubles. Well, that actually helped her in some sort. And I wanted to ask you here at that moment, like, imagine you in this situation, like you're a new kid in school, and you're intelligent too, maybe from the adopted family. What would you do like to socialize with these kids. Have you thought about
I,
this?
I mean, if I was in her situation and I had only chess in my head, maybe I would not seek the socialization aspect. I mean, it's always rational to speak about that, like from another person's point of view. But when you're 15 years old girl that haven't seen another life at all, I don't really think that you have a lot of space for the maneuver, I'd say. Like, you do what you know and what interests you. So it's hard to tell what I would do in her situation because I was not in her situation,
I'm
basically.
not. I'm not sure. Can you remind me, please? Was there any conflict of getting bullied, like getting in a fight? I'm not sure. I cannot recall this.
I think they like gave us a hint that it might have had place, but like when she gave a good answer in the math, and another girl told like, "Here's another fucking smartass" or something like that. But they didn't show like if she was bullied by some other kids.
Yeah, you
We can
know,
only
mhm.
imagine that it happened.
Because at that moment I could imagine this classic scene when, for example, she gets back to her home and after school, and all the kids gather around her and want to kick her ass or something like that. I was just imagining what would I do myself, having this being intelligent. Like,
Yeah,
would you do the same thing that the guy in the prison does? Like, it's pretty similar situation to the prison. Like when you got when you renew like in a prison and everyone already wants to beat your ass, and you're intelligent, and everyone hates you. Like the first thing that comes up in my mind is the Sopranos scene when the guy was telling the story how he entered the cell. He got to the biggest inmate in the cell, like the big black dude, twice his size as he is. And he was like getting at him, "What you looking at? What you looking at?" And he was like beating his ass.
yeah,
I was imagining the same situation here. Like Beth is in the dining room. She gets to the biggest girl in there. And she was like showing her status, like what she looking at, and she gets kicks her ass. I don't know what, I don't know why this comes up in my mind, but well, hopefully
and I
the
think it's like the cliche that you get used to see quite often in the movies. So I think that's why it might have happened. I think they didn't have enough screen time to
yeah.
make accents on that, and they really wanted to show her chess career advancement.
Now I'm actually glad that there wasn't this scene because it's too much of a cliche. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
kid getting bullied because it was obvious that she was getting bullied,
Yeah.
and
Well, we can see that, well, like from also in the next episode, as I recall, they were like getting when she was already famous. I'll get a little bit in spoilers here. They had a little like meeting with her her school friends, and only after she became famous, they started to show attention to her and calling her to parties.
well, at some point she got lucky that she didn't get too much attention because that was not something that was interested for her.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she clearly had another goals in her life, and maybe all these, if she could over socialize in the school, maybe it would also draw her off from her hobby.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of this sub episode, she understands that there is no chess activity here, and she must move forward. She needs to get some practice from, and
Yeah,
this is where we continue with the next sub episode when she wants to get a chess set.
yeah. Like if I recall, it's when her dad told her that she looks like shit and never changed her clothes, and so that's the moment where her mom takes her to shopping to buy her some clothes. And on her way in the store, she notices a chessboard that she really is eager to acquire, but her mother tells her that this is quite expensive thing, and also I think her mother really didn't understand why would a girl want to play chess, as it was quite uncommon at the time. And she tells her if you want this chess board, you should you should save money for it. And so that's like I think was the moment in her head when she understood that she cannot get anything she wants in this free world, this capitalistic free world, that you have to work for what you want and you to get it. And that's where she has to plan something else.
Not like the world of her father who came from
Yeah, yeah,
Soviet.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's like in the Soviet Union where you get born and you get a free chessboard
Yeah, you
already.
get a chessboard, you get an apartment, you get a car, but only
All
in
right.
20 years. That's that was the main
And
problem. You can get food, you can get school, but only after some time. After you get in the line and, and you wait.
yeah, after you wait like 40 years in line, then you get everything that
Yeah,
communism has to give you.
yeah. Just imagine Beth in USSR, and when she wants to get a chessboard, and in the shop, she said that yeah, the seller says yeah, you will get your chessboard, but in 15 years, and we will follow the Beth how she was making a chessboard from bread, like figures from bread, and she was playing with bread figures, and all these 15 years she was imagining getting chessboard.
Yeah,
uh, so maybe capitalistic world is not so bad after all. I'm not sure.
yeah.
You're the judge here, guys.
At least you could like earn some money and get what you want.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
on the other half of the world, I mean, you could earn some money and you could wipe your ass
At
with
least you
those
could
money.
like work, yeah, like 24/7, or you could steal money, or you could uh, get any type of resource to get money. But like being Soviet, you would still have to wait until some guy from Czechoslovakia will send this chess
Yeah,
board, like will get this illegally in the country because all chess were banned in the country. I don't know for what reason. Well, we're just joking here because we understand clearly that maybe the only thing that wasn't banned in the USSR was actually chess, because we
uh,
got Karpov and Kasparov. They both were USSR players. That was like the
yeah,
only one of the only entertainments back then. Or at least maybe yeah. After all, if we getting realistic, maybe that wasn't that hard to get the chess board.
in Soviet Union, right?
Well,
You know,
yeah.
I'm thinking now, why if she was so eager to get this chessboard, why didn't really she make like some kind of handmade chessboard of I don't know potatoes and bread or
I'm
something
not
like
sure.
that?
I'm not sure. I'm thinking myself right now this the same thing, because Well, even in like the third world countries, you can see chess desks in the park, like in the like there's in the stones. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like these chess
Yeah.
games, yeah, chess
I think
boards.
this aspect was also shown later on in the series uh, of the moment when they romanticized the Soviet Union and their culture of chess playing. I think it's something for real more characteristic for third world countries,
Hmm.
but not for the USA of 50s.
Do they recall like the chess culture? Is this when you gather in the park and you see dedushkas, playing
Yeah,
chess in the benches? So that's only the USSR culture, and we won't see this in USA, you suppose?
I think yes. I think that's the idea that they wanted to show in the series. Actually, that was like one of the key ideas that in the USSR of the time, the people was like, I don't know. They wanted to show like the people were more friendly, but
Mm.
I think that's what they wanted to show us that the USSR players they were like playing in team. They were training each other.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
were that like collective,
Yeah.
like team. They were playing like team. They were learning one from another. And in the USR and in the USA, the idea was more like that everyone is for himself, and that's why we see like throughout the series some great players, which everyone has learned by themselves. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't train with each other. That's like that shows like the more of American style of life, where you have to be individualist to reach something in life. And in USSR, that's more like of a collective way of surviving.
Yeah, I'm actually interested in covering this aspect of the chess culture because the way I see it, I'm not sure. Do you remember like Olympic Games? Wait, is there chess in Olympic Games? I'm not sure. Do you remember that?
I'm also not sure. I think not. I never
But
heard
there
about
are
chess game.
some tournaments.
Yeah, I think it's like separate kind of tournaments in the chess culture.
Maybe this kind of thing was probably sponsored by USSR government, and uh, that's what different from USA and USSR because in USA, yeah, you must be individual, you must train, you must have your own chess board and wait, if you think about this, the first guy who plays chess you see in the series is Mr. Shable, and he plays himself.
Yeah,
Uh, Only later he gets some friends to play with him. Yeah, but that's not a kind of thing in USSR if you think about this. I think one part of this is because USSR was working a lot about its reputation, and they were doing the best to show their reputation on the world scene. Like they were giving a lot of effort on the Olympic Games. So they were showing a lot of effort, the collective effort on the any tournament you can imagine. That's the thing that China does nowadays, and maybe even Russia. The modern Russia does the same thing. When you can remember the FIFA 2018, I think. Yeah, there was a football tournament, or 2020.
yeah.
Well, some sort of this. Yeah, so that's what these people were working for their reputation, and the guys like Karpov or Kasparov, when they beat someone from capitalistic country, there was like the the win of communism against capitalism. And you will see this covered in the series, like this
Yeah.
fight of capitalism and communism.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We'll see that later on. I
Yeah.
think that maybe the problem here is also that, like in the authoritarian countries, there's not such a broad spectrum of fun activities that you can have, like maybe in the US, when you can like get drugs to your vein and die. I like, yeah, or you can, I don't know, what else what
Yeah,
else can you do? I mean, in the countries like USSR, you probably couldn't even get weed or coke
yeah. Just
or
imagine
even
Beth.
alcohol. So I think it's good. Yeah,
Imagine
yeah,
Beth getting tranquilizers in USSR. She would get like gulag the next
yeah,
day.
yeah. Straight to Gulag, playing with balls of bread, beating the championships there.
Yeah.
So yeah, something you cannot imagine in the USSR, and maybe that's like one of the reason why chess was so popular there. I mean, like
Yeah.
people were, it was like the activity that everyone could play legally free. Well, no, I think it was not that difficult to get a chessboard, like play with some dedushkas
Yeah.
there in the park.
You know what? We can actually cover this even later. This communism against capitalism, because there will be a lot of moments where we can cover this. But you know what? Some one thing that doesn't come off my mind is why the hell she didn't get the chessboard some sort of other way. Like, yeah, they're pretty poor, the
She could
family.
have made it, obviously. She could have made something, I think, or from something that was there at home, at least. I don't know. You can really cut it from potatoes. Maybe she didn't know that potatoes existed or something like that. I don't know.
Well, like, I'm pretty sure there were like some communities on the outside who played chess, even though they were only men. Like, wasn't that fun for them to let the girl play, to watch her beating other men? Well, we understand here that Netflix actually gives her another challenge to pass, but this one looks pretty unnatural, like too much of the challenge. Like, she could she
Too
could
much drama,
too
right?
much drama. Yeah, she could get this damn chess anywhere. Like, maybe there was, well, yeah, there wasn't any chess in the school, but isn't there like any chess board in the libraries? Like, oh, look, there is a, if you, I had a book about chess, like way back in my childhood, and you know what I saw in the chess book? There was a damn chess board there, printed,
Yeah,
like in every picture, like in every image, when they
yeah, but you
are,
still need to play this board.
yeah, in every like every theoretical explanation about some popular chess games, like, there were moves called Karpov move or Kasparov move, yeah. And when you examine this move in a book, you picture a damn chessboard, so she could get a book and play chess in the book.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting to think, as we know that she was quite literate. She was reading a lot of books, and when we got to see those books, I think there was only text, which is quite unusual. I think when you are reading books about chess, there
Yeah,
obviously should be more
yeah,
pictures.
like my book that I found, it was a book like from the 50s or something like that. It was a quite old book with some practical explanation of famous moves, like famous, and there was damn chessboard like in every
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I can imagine that when you're writing a book about chess, I mean, there's not much pictures that you can post there except for chessboard and figures. So
Okay.
yeah, I think the problem there was really dramatized. But maybe they were like trying to show us the her early problems when she only saw this chessboard in the shop for the first time. Maybe she didn't just thought about that until then, or she didn't have an option because she was in the orphanage until then.
Well, maybe that was something that moved her like to get a first job. So this was the reason to start working, and maybe there was making this problem to talk about the next problem. The next problem will be kids working, kids getting job. Well, it's like the next sub episode, but I also wanted to cover the final scene of the chess set pre-episode. Like there were, if you remember the scene in the library when she got books about
Yeah,
grandmasters and some genius chess players. Yeah, uh,
yeah.
she sees two students hooking up there. Do you remember what was the reason behind this scene? Like, why did they show us two students hooking up? Do you
I
remember?
think that I'm not sure. I think that's the scene where she first saw the two guys from the chess club that she will later like be more close with them. They will become like some sort of friends later on, but not in this episode.
Ah, okay.
But I think the key point here was that at the time when she came to the library, when she was already playing pretty good enough, she didn't know who were the grandmasters. And the librarian told her that the grandmasters are the people that are really good at chess. So, like, let's like some unusual situation, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. And she, at first, she was told that there are no chess players or chess club in the school, but here she
Right.
gets like a blink of hope
Chess.
to, yeah, about she can hope for a chess club or some sort of a chess support. Well, okay, I think we covered a lot here. Maybe we should go next about the scene where Beth wants to get a job.
Yeah, so I think it's also one of those episodes, sub-episodes that covers some social aspects here. So basically, her mother tells her that she needs money to play chess. No, I think I no. Uh, she wants to play chess, but she doesn't have money to play that. And once her mother sent her to buy some cigarettes, she goes to the shop and sees the magazine there about chess. So she really wants to read it, but she doesn't have money for it. And the shopkeeper tells her, you can't just read the magazine in the shop. You should buy it if you want it. So she steals it. It's like the first bad move by her, but I think we can really understand why she did it. So when she gets home, she gives her the cigarettes to her mother, and tells her that she wants to get a job to earn money and to buy herself a chessboard. But her mother tells her that at this age only the colored girls get jobs, so it's not usual for white kids to work in her age. I think it's like was the key point of the sub scene.
So, is this some sort of racism against white people?
No, I'd say that it's the situation where the society where it was only like white kids should have stayed home, enjoyed their life, and all the work was for the black kids. So it was quite opposite.
Yeah, it was actually yeah, it's not so smart joke for me. Yeah, but the something that again I was laughing at is how she stole the magazine, but she couldn't steal the chessboard. Like, wow, that's some. Maybe
Well,
she was
I
intelligent, but not so much. After all.
might be, but I don't know. I think the chessboard is much more expensive than the magazine. Maybe
Oh
we don't
yeah,
know what was the prices back then, 50 years ago.
yeah,
I
maybe.
think chessboard is
Maybe
not that cheap.
they all were from ivory bones, like all this. Like it's only now you can get a chessboard for $10, miniature chessboards or like something like that.
Yeah,
But back then, yeah, maybe why not? So I like here at this scene. I like how she gets the ideas of playing the tournament. Like she's, even though she struggles with some character problems, like she's not for sure whether she's talented enough, but she still wants to enter the tournament, straight the tournament. It's quite express. No, it's quite
it's quite
impressive. Yeah, I want to say. Sorry. So yeah, that's
a
quite impressive.
her as a personality.
Right, yeah. So she like this young and so brave.
Yeah, I think it's the magazine where she read about the tournament that she wanted to play, and she was like starting to send letters to these organizations to play for free, which was not something quite popular in the capitalistic world. I mean, what was she hoping for anyway? So, and I like the first tournament that she wanted to play, there was like $5 entry fee, I think, or $10, something like that. But it was quite a lot for her at the time.
Yeah, and $5 there was quite a lot of money for anyone back then. I'm not sure about the if you measure it with dollar nowadays, but I don't know. You can multiply for 100 easily. Pretty sure like this.
Like I'm sure that her mother was earning like $30 or $25 a month, I think.
Oh,
So
yeah.
maybe I'm not sure. I just think
Mm-hmm.
maybe. So, but to get it, the money where she got the money, she wrote to Mr. Shable and asked for the money from him. She told him that once she wins the tournament, she will give him the money back, and he actually sent her those $5, which
Oh,
she
this.
used for.
But
For
that's in the next sub episode, right?
oh, really? I'm not quite sure. I thought it was here. It might have been, but
You know what I wanted to cover before we get to this moment, like right now you understand that Beth has a goal not only of playing chess, like it's her passion, it's her desire to play, yeah, but her main goal is to beat everyone, so to be the champion. That's why she
yeah,
enters the tournaments, not some chess club, and she's not looking for deduskas in the park to play with them. That's like another, the whole different level for her. She already beat a lot of people in her life, so she's now ready for the big tournaments. And yeah,
for the first. Yeah,
the first real one, and for money, because money, now she understands that if she doesn't, she can't even buy herself a chessboard. Well, it's a pretty hilarious, not even hilarious, but ironical way of getting money for a chessboard is to play a chess tournament. If you think about this, like,
Yeah, that's interesting that she didn't have a chessboard up until her first tournament, so
yeah,
she didn't really have a place to practice. And then, where all the other people there at the tournament was already like some kind of professional players.
yeah, like compare it to some soccer player who never had his own ball, like. He always played some. He was always loaning some footballs and playing with other kids, but never had his own. And the first time he touches his football is when he enters the real game. That's interesting. It's interesting, and so we can move to or we the when she gets her tournament money, the thing you mentioned,
Yeah.
and
Probably.
there was actually. Can you recap the thing when she met tranquilizers again? That was like the central
That was
moment.
the moment when her mother sent her to the shop again to get some kind of pills against her headache. And when she came to the drugstore, she saw that the actual drug was those pills that she was receiving at the orphanage. And so that's the moment where the idea sparked in her head. So she kept the half of the bottle for herself, and that uh, like was another moment for her when she started playing with herself again, imagining all those figures on the ceiling. So yeah,
Interesting. I thought she was playing in her head all the way
she
without chessboard, but now she plays.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like the way for her to visualize those things that she were thinking about in her head.
Mm-hmm.
So need it. So I think that was like the chessboard for her. Maybe that's the reason why she didn't need to make one from potatoes. So
Yeah.
she didn't have enough time to think about the potato board because she got the pills once again, and she could play with those imaginary chess figures on the ceiling.
Do you remember? Did she even get the chessboard after getting money? Did she buy a chessboard? I am not sure.
Oh, she got $5 from Mr. Shable that were
For the
for the
tournament, yeah.
yeah. So she didn't got herself the chessboard. She got the chessboard where you're going a little bit further after she beat the tournament, and she got herself a first board.
Yeah, but I actually think there would be a better metaphor if when she gets tranquilizers, she forgets about buying a chessboard. Like that's a quite good metaphor for explaining that tranquilizers are her chessboard. So
Yeah,
when she get tranquilizers, she don't need the chessboard anymore. But well, why not? She can.
yeah,
She. It's like the only thing she needs in her life. She doesn't even need clothes clothes to socialize with people. So yeah, why
yeah,
not? Why not buying the one? And we're moving here to the first tournament.
yeah. Her first tournament when she is first met with another geniuses of her town. I think it was some kind of local town tournament where she lived. So when she comes to the tournament, the organizers tell her that the women usually don't play chess and they don't have a separate section for her, and they are quite surprised that she wants to play chess, which actually is also unusual, as I recall her first opponent will be also a girl, which is quite, I think, might maybe something is not quite thought out here,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
maybe
I remember the same thing that was questioning for me. Like, So it's so hard for girls to enter the tournament, but still there is a girl playing against her. Maybe maybe Netflix wanted to show here that since there are so little of women on the tournament, they should play with each other. Like that's
Uh,
separation, another separation by the genders.
yeah, yeah. I mean, she was unrated, and like every player that there was already skilled with some amount of points. So she was unrated. Maybe she was placed in the same group with another unrated player
Yeah,
with another girl.
and if you think about this, that gives uh, quite a disadvantage for both of the girls. Like, well, naturally you get one girl eliminated in the first round. Well,
Yeah,
maybe both girls could end up in the final with
yeah,
proper playoffs, and they don't get. Well, maybe that should be quite a. If they are the only unrated girls, maybe that's fair enough. Maybe if we talk about rated and underrated players.
yeah.
Well,
That's actually quite interesting how two unrated girls met up in the first game because she was her first opponent in this tournament. So we can only guess why her opponent didn't have any scores. Maybe this was made up, so they would really play in the first round, and so there would end only one girl. I mean that's another social aspect that is raised here.
yeah, because if you think about this, we don't see this girl. We don't. We don't see this girl like in the next episode. So I cannot come up with her at the moment. Maybe she will be present, but I'm not sure.
Was but it actually is also I was thinking when I was watching the episode that maybe we'll see her later. Actually, in this episode, the girl helps her later on when Beth moves throughout the tournament playing with the top players.
Now I remember. I remember there will be a girly problem. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure. So
like
now we
all of
understand. Yeah, now we understand why we need a girl here to the plot.
yeah. It might have been not so logical to put another girl in this tournament,
Yeah.
but who knows? She could have really been there. So yeah, so she
No,
was basically Ed was playing with the dude named Towns. She was like the top player of the town. It's interesting. Towns,
Towns
oh,
player, top
top
player of
player
the
of the
town. Yeah.
town. Yeah. So and she beat him, but I think during the her chess play she had her first period. So that's the moment when she went to the toilet and the girl helped her out as she didn't quite know what to do there as she was a kid.
It's quite interesting that that's the first time she gets her period is the first tournament. Maybe we get some sex references again, like from the first episode. Think about this.
Eh, it might be. I think maybe she just was quite overwhelmed and she sped up the process. I'm not sure that it works that way, but or maybe it was just made for the drama as usual.
We can say for sure that she is younger than 15, so she's approximately
Right,
12.
right.
If I'm not mistaken, here she's probably 12 or 11, something like that. So she's definitely not older than we thought, like 15 or 16. I'm quite impressed how Anya played a 12 years old girl, and we still believe. No.
Yeah.
Oh, was there any makeup? I'm not sure. Well, she got a pretty young face. Uh, we she naturally has a young face, baby face. So it's the best pick for a role here. And we could actually cover this in the end of our podcasts. That maybe Anna Taylor Joy is what made this series so successful. Maybe she was like a 50% of the success. Well, let's see. Let's see. Uh, so the girl helps her out, and that's the ending scene of this sub episode. And the
Oh,
next,
yeah. And it's the her first win also. She wins her first tournament.
there was the final, right, with the towns. Oh, so she
Yeah,
wins. How much did she win?
I no, well, she had like I don't know, like 5 or 6 games there. She beat everyone, and the last one was the Towns.
Uh, because we in the next sub episode we get to the husband of her mother
Yes, I think
that he leaves.
moment.
So
Yeah,
maybe no, I don't think she wins the tournament actually here.
no, she wins this tournament. That's the first tournament. Ah, you think she might have lost that?
No, I think there was the tournament didn't finish here because as I remember, the first tournament she won for $100, and that will be a bit
That might
later.
have been the strongest opponent that day, but the tournament continued, I think,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
she
yeah.
also the toughest dude in the state. I think it was the same tournament. It might have been right.
Maybe yeah. We got a little bit confused here because there was the
That
scene with the husband and
Yeah, so as I recall, so her dad finally leaves them for good, and that's when we see now for sure that this family has quite huge crack there in their relationships. So when she returns home, she sees her mother's crying and playing piano. So mm, I think that's the moment where also some kind of authorities came to check how the kid is adapted in the new family, and the mother was completely broke up. She was in the bad condition, so that was the moment when they could take the kid from her. Uh, but
was that actually the moment when we finally realized what was the tragedy in the family?
yeah, I think that's when the mother told her that the dad left her for some another woman, and he went somewhere to Denver. He was writing, I think, quite a lot to Denver, and now she like really understood why he was doing that. So that's the moment where the family broke, and she told the girl that she'll try to be a real mother for her as long as Beth would not go to Denver.
Maybe you can help me out to recall this, but the thing I wanted to cover, the main tragedy that they had in the family, was it the tragedy that they had already a kid, a girl who maybe they somehow lost, or maybe the kid died in some accident.
Not quite sure about that. I'm not remembering
Yeah,
these
yeah.
days.
Maybe I'm confusing with the other series, but I actually thought that was the the problem within the family, that, or maybe that was something I analyzed afterwards, because if you think about this, the reason for them for adopting a girl was maybe because they wanted to fill in the empty space in their heart, because maybe they lost their kid, and I believe there is some problem. Maybe they couldn't have a kid. Maybe that's why they had so much trouble with each other. I mean, the husband and the mother. Maybe they lost a kid, because that was like the first thought that came in my mind. Like, they're totally desperate, and the mother, she wants a kid so much in her life, and that's not logical, because the weak family, they don't want kids in their lives. Like, if you think about this, the weak families concentrate on themselves more, but maybe they thought that the kid will recover their family troubles. Well, we can see that.
Yeah, right. It might have been. Maybe they couldn't make kids at all, because that's quite interesting, because we don't get to see their other children in the series. I think there was some kind of problem they were trying to recover, but it was just quite unusual by the disposition, by the actions of her new dad, because he wasn't like, you can say that he was the man that actually wanted the child. Maybe they had this idea before to get the child, but by the time when he got the child, he was already
I actually got through some of my writings, and I see here I'm writing that her mother told her they used to have a child. So that's not something I was confusing. There was a child in their family.
Right.
Yeah. Now I found my writings about this. So
Yeah, that explains why there actually was a break in their family. So they lost the child, and everything fell apart, and they tried to fill the gap by a new kid.
And
By the time dad already had another interests on the side, I'd say.
That's how dad was running away from the problem. He was getting in job, then he was getting in another woman. So that was his escaping from the big problem. Yeah, because like maybe after losing their child, they couldn't get like another one naturally. They didn't want to. They were blaming each other for losing this their first child. And
Right.
the desperate mother didn't see any other possibility to have a child rather than adopting. And here it gets logical. Why did the family, so desperate family, adopts children? Yeah.
Right. It's something quite common, I think, in this kind of situations.
Yeah, and we can. For me, right now, it's getting pretty. Now I understand that the episode is quite of depressing, because I remember how we were discussing the first one. It was more of a entertainment about her first steps. Like, there were problems, but they weren't so sad or so. Maybe it's like we can compare this to the growing of a person. Like the teenage age, the teenage stage is the stage when the person gets his first psychological problems.
Right.
Maybe that's why this episode was so quite of filled up with psychological problems, like because when Beth was a kid she couldn't understand the problem of her adopting family. Like she wouldn't understand why the family is upset about losing the child. She was too young, even though she had a hard childhood. She enjoyed her childhood anyways, like playing chess and something like that. I mean, that's like my idea about this episode. Like,
Yeah, it might be.
so let's continue with when she finally plays with the worthy opponents. Biggest achievements so far in her chess career. Yeah. So
Yeah,
and
in,
we get to the final with Harry Beltic.
Harry Baltic, right? So that's when she plays against the top state player. I think they were living in Kentucky, so he was like the top chess player of Kentucky. So the dude was quite arrogant, pretty sure that he would win any opponent there, but he couldn't imagine that a 12-year-old girl would bring a surprise to him. So we see that the bet is a little unconfident in the beginning. She ends up, he definitely pressures her in the beginning of their game, and so somewhere in the middle she rushes to the bathroom and takes some of her favorite pills. Then she plays all possible variants of the game on the ceiling, and more confident, she comes back to beat the fucking arrogant dude.
And here I get the obvious Eminem reference again. Do you maybe you can get this reference too, or do you
Mm,
understand what I'm talking about here? Or
when
is,
he got a lot of drugs and then came out with the no, like when he no, I actually cannot get the reference here.
but you remember "Lose Yourself" clip when
Right.
this if you had one shot, one opportunity. And when you watch the clip, he rushes to the bathroom, just like Beth, and he vomits in the toilet because he's so nervous. That's the episode of 8 Mile movie when he is in the final of rap battle. So he gets nervous too. He runs to the toilet, he vomits, and then he looks at himself in the mirror, and he motivates himself like pretty much the same thing that Beth does. For me, that was a quite obvious reference. Maybe I'm just because I'm the stan here, and Mr. Screen is not so brain damaged like me, but still, that was a funny thing to recognize. I'm pretty sure other stands who are watching me will understand my reference.
Yeah, that's a nice point here. I think the directors were they could have been inspired by the scene from the 8 Mile.
Yeah, it's not like maybe not only stands will remember this. Well, okay.
Yes,
I'm not sure. Maybe there were some Eminem tracks in the soundtrack. Maybe that will explain us our confusion. Well,
Yeah.
so she gets from the toilet and she beats him. Yeah.
Well, basically, yeah, that's what happened. She's more confident now. She comes back and she shows him what she is really capable of. And so the dude completely lost it and understands in what shitty situation he was. So, and as also as I recall, there was a pretty fun dialogue here. So at the beginning of this game, I think the dude, how his name, Harry Baltic, he was late for like 10 or 15 minutes, and his time was already, was going the time that he could spend on the game, and it was quite a arrogant move from his side. So, and basically at the end of the game, when Beth put him in quite uncomfortable situation, the dude was eager to find some more time to make another move. But the time went out, and the bed told him that you could have find another move if you wasn't late in the beginning. If
Yeah.
you could have had more time. So it was like a punchline from her. It was so maybe she was like the Eminem at the moment. She dropped out a really good phrase there and left the tournament like winner,
Yeah,
not only
Mhm.
at chess but also verbally.
Yeah, we get here a pretty obvious lesson from Netflix. Don't be arrogant, and
Yeah,
sometimes being critical to yourself is better than being not critical at all. And the guy here, yeah, he was famous for being speedy player. He was quite fast, and that's what he was.
yeah,
Well, you never in any sport you might have seen, or maybe you when you hear some interviews of some for example tennis player, chess players, not you never hear a professional player talking about the other one, that he will beat his ass, that he will be only in boxing, only in
UFC.
MMA, yeah,
Yeah,
UFC, where it's a culture of trash talk. But in the other sports, when they get to the process more realistic, more logical, they never make this mistake, because it's a big mistake. You put yourself in a bad position morally, because you make your opponent an underdog. You don't want to be psychological underdog, because it gives you much more pressure playing the game. So
yeah. You should never underestimate your opponent, I'd say.
yeah, you get so much pressure then that you're saying to yourself, why am I losing? This player is so bad and I'm so good. Why am I losing? It's the chess game is also about psychology. So Beth here was she won not only by skills, yeah, but by psychology too. And there's an obvious lesson here: guys, don't be arrogant.
Be responsible,
Be
right?
responsible, yeah. And that's why Beth was talking to herself in the bathroom, saying an ugly piece of trash to herself. But
Yeah,
that's the way she motivated herself. Well,
yeah,
that's pretty obvious why she did this, because she was still an underrated player.
yeah,
Well, we will see in the next episode that she will be this arrogant player herself.
yeah,
When
yeah. That's
you
right.
you can see this in the first episode when she is late for her tournament, and so we can say this is natural, pretty natural for any successful player to become
Right.
arrogant, yeah. And uh, I suppose so. She wins $100 in this.
Yeah, so she wins the tournament, wins the $100. She basically becomes the sensation in Kentucky, like the first underrated girl player, already have beaten up the most strongest dude. So that's actually the moment where her mother understands which possibilities this chess career opens for her. This is the time when she decides to support her. So they go to bank, open an account with her mother. Uh, yeah, well,
She
but
becomes a
basically
manager.
it's quite interesting, yeah, to see her the transformation of her mother here, like when she was completely negative before about all this chess idea, and when she saw the money here, she was like, "Oh fuck, yeah, we can actually do that. We can, you can become a good chess player,
Well, we
and I won't have to work, right?"
we cannot actually. We don't want to blame here. At, well, at least at this moment, we cannot blame her because she's so desperate. She lost her husband. She's a
Right.
working mother for an adopted child, so she already is under big pressure. So
Yeah.
this is quite a huge relief, and that's a blink of a hope in her eye. So we can only be happy here for her mother, for Beth, for both of them, because
Yeah, I
they
fully
got
agree.
through they got through big troubles in the family. So why not?
Yeah, we can obviously say that at this period, that's the main force that was pushing this, that allowed them to continue further, was actually the bet. If not her will, if not her desire to win, I mean, nothing would happen later. So she was like the fire that ignited her mother later on, and her mother was a great support for her later on in her career. So yeah,
Yeah, and so maybe the ending scene is like the series get us in high stakes. Like Beth is told about the tournament where the prize is $500, and
right.
the
So
mother
they
is
plan, yeah, they
they
plan, they buy tickets for the plane and go to their journey. But before that, she finally bought herself a chessboard that she was so that she was willing it so much.
No, I'm a little bit of jealous of Beth. I was always jealous of these people who get this goal in their lives. Like
Yeah,
the only thing she needed is a chessboard, and she's so happy right now. Well, I'm happy
yeah,
for her. Like that she knew where to go from the starting point of her life. This is pretty good. This, I suppose, it's like any genius had this moment in their childhood, like Mozart. Mozart wrote his first symphony while he was 11 years old, so he obviously knew that he will be a musician for the rest of his life. So that's how 1% or maybe less people get their talent, these
yeah.
genius talents.
I
Uh,
think I'd say that there's also always a negative side to this aspect. These people are always under the great pressure from the society, from their families, because the expectations are always quite high from these people. But if they're passionate enough, I think that's the people that reach high 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 I don't know high standards in life. No, that's not. that the people that reach the real heights.
Yeah,
That's what I want to say.
it's like the lesson from Netflix: play high stakes
Yeah.
in your life. Like you got one life, so why not? Uh, oh, since
I could
we
help.
uh,
Yeah.
since we came to the ending point of this series, I was wanted to ask you some rhetorical question. Like, would you rather? What would you choose? Like, if you had a chance to choose, would you choose her life, Beth's life, for a small chance of becoming the champion in chess? So it's like, would you choose a calm and comfortable life, or you would choose a genius talent, something like this?
Right. That's an interesting question, you know. I think that's well, basically everyone can reach. I think the height that Beth reached. I mean, she wasn't like some genius. Well, she was just a girl that took pills, and she was quite persuasive in her dreams. Well, I mean, that's like what everyone can actually do. Well, except for the pills thing. So,
Well, you
actually,
know, that's quite a debating thing because so you think there was no genius talent behind?
you know, I think I'd say that the main aspect that affected her future and her career was the fact that she was actually from the orphanage. I think these kids, these people are in more hard and desperate situations. So if you compare like with kids that were born in normal families, who are grown up with both parents, these kids they don't have this much desire. These I'd say that they're like broiler chickens. They have everything and they
Yeah,
don't need to to
progress.
reach
Yeah.
for something, yeah, to reach for something higher. Well, that's quite mm, abstractive, but generally the kids that had it harder in life, they have, I'd say, they're more persuasive in later in their dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, well, maybe with these tranquilizers, the series tell us that not only genius and not only talent was the reason behind Beth's success, and we will probably cover this at the end of the series. Or right now we can start thinking about, is there even a question about genius? Was there a genius part of her character, or was it only consistency? Was it her temper? Was it her character? Because I believe that that's the main propaganda we will see in successful books today. That you can hear this thought everywhere, that talent is nothing. You can see a lot of talented people thrown away from their lives. Like, you know, maybe a lot of us had this genius kid in high school and who was so successful with his marks. He was like an A plus student, but and he was gifted, and yet he didn't get a success in his life. Maybe because he wasn't so consistent, and he was only about it was only about his talent. Maybe this guy actually the Beth opponent, Harry, yeah, or he was Harry.
Yeah.
Maybe he was so arrogant. He was talented for sure, maybe even more talented than Beth, but the thing that made this the thing that made her win is not a talent, but her consistency and her psychological level. So,
Right.
so
Yeah, it might have been. That's an interesting point to think about. I think it might be the whole gamma of these consequences that led up to her becoming a genius. The fact that she was very disciplined from the orphanage, the fact that she was focused on only one thing in her life, like because I don't know, because she didn't have another activities that she could enjoy. Also, the pills. I think it's like more obstacles that affected her career.
yeah, and the pills at the end of the series, I mean, at the end of this episode, we see that the pills are remaining in her life and her story. So,
Yeah,
and I like this aspect of the series. It makes it more challenging for her. It's not like she's fighting against society only. She's fighting with herself, and we can see this struggling throughout the whole series.
yeah.
So, what do you think about this episode?
Well, I'd say that's quite interesting episode. It shows her teenage years and like her first big win. I'd say that I enjoyed this episode.
There's probably even more tension. Maybe there were more high stakes in this episode rather than in the first episode, because the only high stake she had there is her discussing, or her argument with her guru, right? That was the critical point where she could finally make Mr. Schnabel play with her, teach her
Jable.
Schnabel, yeah, sorry, Schnabel teach her. But here she got way more other obstacles, other issues in her life, and like she got in this tournament from zero, from nothing, like from zero,
Right.
to no money, no chess board, no way to steal a chess board for some reason. So she, yeah, this, and I do hope we will see. Yeah, I actually know that we will see, but I think you guys hope too that we will see even bigger stakes in the next episodes. It's like the natural point of series. We will definitely see the third episode will be more tense, more high stakes, more psychological problems, and Beth gets even older. Beth gets more problems. The drug problem gets even more tense. Well, let's not spoiler here. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what the shows has to bring to us.
So yeah, I suppose we can finish at this point. I like how we get even more analysis here. Maybe even more discussed, even more topics, more general topics that this series raise. And I do hope the next episode, the next podcast will take 2 hours. That's gonna be our goal to accomplish. So
I think one day it will be 2 hours, but we'll have to wait for that.
well, just imagine if we continue. The third episode will be 2 hours. The next one will be 2.5 hours, and so
Yeah,
The final
for our
episode,
viewers.
yeah, the final episode will take 6 hours. So
Yeah, it's quite interesting how we discuss for like hour and a half the episode that lasts only an hour.
yeah, and that's what I like in analytics because when everyone does this, if you think about this, the series ended in like how much? Couple of months ago. People are still discussing it, and people are waiting for the second season. People
Yeah,
will come up with our podcast. Will watch it before the second season. I hope to
yeah. I mean,
recap.
why would you rewatch the series one more time when you can just listen to our podcast
Yeah,
and
yeah,
open it up from completely another point of view for yourself?
exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
you
So
will cover much more layers. Who else will we talk about? Gulak and Eminem in the
right.
Netflix series. Okay, so thank you guys
Yep.
for watching. Thank you,
Thank
Screen.
you all.
Thank you, Screen, for
Yeah.
helping me. Thank you for actually leading the podcast with your analytics.
Something I could remember from the episode. That's okay. Thank you for being a great companion here.
Yeah, thank you, our viewers. Thanks for those of you who watched until the end of the episode of our episode.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
guys. Bye bye.
subscribe to Screenalysis.
Oh yeah, subscribe and
Yes.
like. Yeah.
Until the next times. Bye.
See ya.